Hello! Welcome to the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream here on twitch.tv/DDO stream, youtube.com/Dungeons and Dragons/live, and facebook.com/DDO Unlimited. I am your long lost community manager, Cordovan. Back from Gen Con, sort of. My brain is still there. I could talk a little bit about how that all went. Hey, Druid's Fire, Hipperan, Puff Cranny, Muller Brockman, Bruno, over on YouTube. Man, I am still in the middle of my Gen Con hangover. I drove all the way from Massachusetts to Indianapolis, and then late Sunday afternoon started driving back. Crashed overnight Monday, and, well, I guess not the best choice of words. Found a hotel on Monday evening, or Sunday evening, then drove all the way back through Monday, got back at home. Oh, geez, I guess it was like 1 a.m. on Tuesday morning or whatever that was. Slept a whole bunch, because, you know, Gen Con. And woke up with a Gen Con crud, convention cold, as it were. Lots of people, about 60,000, from what I hear from the Gen Con organizers. So very stuffed up, got some antihistamine in me and all that sort of thing, and rolling right into the work week. I have got stuff to do. I got a Chronicle to write. I got a Lotro Beacon to write. Got a lot of forums and such to get caught up on. But I am here live streaming on Kyber. Room for one more. Armagh. So if you're high level and want to join in, please do so. Good, you're back now. I can hit you with the hard questions. When is the favorite Soul Pass coming? At least as of when I left for Gen Con, it was still set for before the release of Ravenloft, which is set for set for this winter. And so I'm guessing within the next month and a half or so. But we'll see. So yes, I had a really good Gen Con. Thank you. We ended up having, pretty close to 24 people stop by the DDO and Lotro player meetup on Friday night in Indianapolis. If that was you, hope you had a good time. I know I did. Got to take some nice pictures with some DDO peeps. Got to talk lots of DDO. Might have shown a few pictures on my cell phone that I can't talk about here. Secrets. Some cool stuff, though. We had a good time. I had a good time. I think people had a good time. If you had a good time, thanks for stopping out. If you were like, well, I'll never do that again, well, thanks for stopping out anyway. What else? Jeez, I don't even know, man. So like I say, I woke up, oh man, I guess it was like 1:30 in the afternoon yesterday. Some crazy thing like that. And, was just like, where am I? What day is it? I still don't know what day it is. Well, it's Wednesday. But I didn't even realize that as of like an hour ago. I was out getting a bagel for breakfast on my way into work. And I was like, well, let me check my lottery ticket. Checked the lottery ticket and was like, nope, not a winner. And then I realized the drawing's tonight. After I threw it away. So if someone from Pennsylvania wins the Powerball tonight, and no winner comes forward, I might have thrown away a winning lottery ticket. Thankfully, the odds of that happening are infinitesimally small, so I'm not too worried about it. But no, it's not Thursday. It is Wednesday all day, I guess. Like I say, I woke up, Tuesday afternoon, and I was just like, oh man, I got so much to catch up on, dishes and laundry, and I was zonked out, had a cold and all that sort of thing. So I was just like, God, you know what I need to do? I need to lay in bed all day, read some of the books I got at Gen Con, check out my new Nintendo, which I can talk about, I guess, and watch Game of Thrones. Watched a bunch of Game of Thrones, kind of marathoned it through. Tried to recuperate in time for today. I'm better off than I was yesterday. I guess I could say that much. But, yeah. If I sound as bad as I look, well, hey, there you go. So, yep. But yeah, Gen Con, man, good time. It was a sellout. They had every ticket sold. When you got onto Gen Con, around the convention center and that, there were just all these big signs saying, no tickets. Please have your badge ready. And it was cool. They, like I said, I got a press release, I guess, from the Gen Con LLC yesterday, I guess it was, and they were talking about how the total attendance was something like 200 and some thousand, but there was ended up being about 60,000 uniques, which is what, you know, the convention center could handle. I have to admit, it actually went pretty well in terms of the crowds. I was a little worried heading into Gen Con. I was just like, oh my god, it's already a crowded, you know, fun time, but crowded mess. And if they're really at a sellout, how shoulder to shoulder is it going to be, you know? So what ended up happening is Thursday, like most of the rest of the world, went kind of nuts trying to get into the exhibit hall, buy all the games, and, you know, what have you. And it was crazy on Thursday. The exhibit hall was just a madhouse. Oops. And then it cleared out. And I have to admit, actually, after, say, Thursday mid-late afternoon, it was pretty chill. Getting into the convention, the exhibit hall wasn't really that bad. It was a pretty good time. They well-organized event, like usual. They do a really nice job at Gen Con, so I do want to give a shout-out to those folks for really doing an incredible job. Managing a really large crowd, doing a great job. So that was cool. I had a really good time doing that. Picked up a bunch of games, which I guess I could talk about if anyone cares, and all that sort of thing. So yeah, that went great. Went to the They Might Be Giants concert on Thursday. I don't know if it's true, but the band was like, man, this is the biggest crowd we've ever played for. They were filming it for presumably a concert video and a live thing. So that was cool. So maybe maybe we'll see that kind of come up in the future. It's pretty rad. It was a good. They didn't sell out the field house, but it was pretty cool. It was very crowded, real nice. Good time. They Might Be Giants remains one of the best bands to see live. I think I've said this before in the live stream, but if you ask me what the best concerts I've ever been to are, on that top 5 is They Might Be Giants for the 1991-2 album Apollo 18. I saw them at First Avenue, and it was so good. And Thursday's concert did not disappoint. Man, they're still one of the best. Picked up a signed vinyl album of theirs, because, you know, vinyl hipster that I am. Except I listen to my records, so I guess I'm not quite a hipster. Did purchase way too many games, spent way too much money, but hey, that's Gen Con for you, right? So. Went to a couple of really cool gaming events, checked out some good games, met some great people, went to the Writers' Symposium. That was really cool. I got an 8x10 art print. I would have gotten more, but I was kind of broke. From Larry Elmore, who signed it to me. So I'm going to get that framed. I have a framed Larry Elmore print. He was selling really nice ones, like including really nice limited, I think it was like for 200 or 1200, no, 1200, edition of the Dungeons and Dragons old school red box basic cover. When you know, the one with the fighter and the red dragon coming in. And, that was too cool, but that was also outside of my budget, so I ended up getting an 8x10 print. But I got a signed print from Larry Elmore and got my picture taken with him, so that was a bit of a highlight of the trip. I also got a book signed by Mercedes Lackey, who is a really excellent writer. I got to see her and Larry Dixon talk about their craft and spend a lot of time talking about birds of prey. That was a good time, though. I got to see a reading by Gail Z. Martin and Linda Robertson, which was both excellent. They read a passage from an upcoming, it's kind of like a Monster Hunter zombie book coming out this October. Book of short stories. It's part of some series I wasn't familiar with. But both of their stories were really funny and fun. It's kind of southern style, almost Tucker and Dale versus Evil style, I guess a little bit. And both were excellent. So I got a book signed at the same time as the Mercedes Lackey signing. Gil Z. Martin was there. And not having a big crowd, unfortunately. So I was able to go right up to her and get a book signed of hers, so that was really cool. Checked out the artist Sally, and checked out kind of a local author. Unfortunately, the name is skipping my brain right now. Picked up one of her first books, part of a series, and got that signed as well. So I got some really cool signatures at this year's Gen Con. It was really neat. A lot of good artists and things like that this year. They're the whole kind of, well, I guess it was the southeast corner of the exhibit hall. The whole final quarter of it was largely an artist and writers section. And there was some really good stuff there. It was very, very cool. I think we gotta hit the lever. I didn't get any D&D gaming in because Wizards really wasn't there at Gen Con this year. They were there for Magic, but not really there for D&D. It was kind of a bummer, but you know, they have their thing in Fort Wayne that's coming up I think fairly soon, and so I guess they were just sort of consolidating at that. So a lot of board games and that sort of thing. I did take part in kind of like a Rocky Horror Picture Show sort of thing. I guess it was on Saturday night, and that was kind of fun. I had a full schedule. Got the mini paint and take. Oh, also spent way too much money at the Ral Partha booth. God. I love Ral Partha's, Pewter Mini Works. And they had a bunch of stuff, even dating all the way back to like 77. Some old, I guess probably reprinted stock, I'm assuming. Or re-pewtered stock? Remolded stock? But some of the classic stuff there. So I went a little nuts picking that up. And that was really, really cool. I guess I kind of was Frankenfurter. It was sort of a weird... It didn't tie too closely to the movie or production. Instead, it really focused on more of a... kind of a... I guess you could call it a side story. It was sort of weird. Organized by this group out of Texas, I believe. But yeah, we were a bunch of scientists doing things. Then, of course, you know, had the DDO meetup on Friday. Originally, we were going to go to the Omni Severin, but no surprise. As we got closer to Gen Con, we were like, oh man, there is no way we're going to get in on the Omni Severin. But we tried anyway. Showed up there at like 7:30, and I was one of the last people in before they were like, nope, we've hit fire code. No one else is allowed in. And one person snuck in to let me know that there was a bunch of DDO people that were actually stuck outside, unable to get inside of the bar. So since it was really kind of a madhouse anyway, we were already like, oh man, we gotta find a better place to go. So we did. I happened to notice that there was a bar called the Social Bar that was right next, like kind of kitty corner to the Omni Severin Hotel, and it was closed. But I looked them up online, and they opened at 8 p.m. So we were like, huh. So as soon as they opened their doors at 8 o'clock, you know, there's a group of, I guess, about 12 of us at that point, just sort of zoomed right in, grabbed a bunch of couches and all that sort of thing, and it was a really nice, chill place. Had a good time then for the rest of the night. Like I said, about 24 peeps spread across Lothram and DDO visited. It actually wasn't too drunken or anything. I guess we're all getting old. I don't drink anymore, but so it wasn't too wild a party or anything. But we talked a lot of DDO and such, and had a good time. One of the games I got to play, I had actually, Steiner Davian had backed their Kickstarter and was able to get me a copy of the game of Slugfest Games, Red Dragon Inn co-op card game spin-off called Battle for Greyport. So I went on Saturday, I guess it was around noon, to have a demo session of that with the peeps at Slugfest Games. And that was really cool. I've been curious about playing that game, but it's a little complex. It's like a combination co-op RPG deck building sort of thing. And being able to sort of see it played in a demo with, you know, in person, see it played with like someone from the game's production, just sort of like clarifying rules and walking you through it, went really well. That's a fun game. Very, very cool. Like I say, it's kind of a weird mix between a deck builder and an RPG system. The basic idea is you're in this town, and there are like 8 different scenarios, like kind of campaigns you can play. Each one has sort of 2 to 3 parts on it, I guess. And you sort of have to protect this section of town, and then monsters are attacking both the location and you personally. You sort of go around trying to defend both the location and the peeps. If any of you die, you lose. If the location gets destroyed, you lose. And it gets progressively harder up to a boss fight at Tier 3. It was a cool deck builder. It was real neat. And like I say, you work together rather than against each other, so it was cool that way as well. Using the Red Dragon Inn IP for anyone who might be familiar with that. Otherwise, lots of food. I did get a taxi over to I used to live in Indy, so I had a kind of a short list of restaurants and stuff that was like, man, if I'm gonna go there for the first time in like 8 years or whatever, some crazy amount of time, I am hitting up Yats, I am hitting up Basbo, that kind of thing. So I did that. Actually, one of the writers and moderators of the Writers Symposium at Gen Con happens to be a DDO player. So she invited me over to dinner, and we were able to do that and kind of talk DDO and talk writing and all that sort of thing. And that was really cool. On top of that, when I was there at that dinner, sitting at the table so like we sat down and ordered our food, and then there was a long table set up right behind us. Well, actually, where I was facing. Who would sit down at that table but the entire cast of Critical Role? Yeah. The entire cast. Matt Mercer, Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey, just all of them. And I was just like, oh my god. But because they were having kind of a personal time, you know, they clearly didn't want to be bugged. I didn't want to bug them. If they hadn't been at dinner, if they hadn't kind of been putting off, hey, this is our time vibes, I probably would have, just for professional reasons, frankly. Because I would have liked to sort of give them a card and help solidify their voice work for the future. But, well, like I said, the timing wasn't right. So I just sort of watched them. And that was cool. Yeah, it was a good hangout venue. Thanks, Druid's Fire. It was a good call. Ah, you cast Pewter. There you go. No, I didn't dress up for the Rocky Horror. I'm just really using my bag. Yeah, Mercedes Lackey was great, Macupere. Both her reading and her personality. Very sweet lady. And very, very gracious to what ended up being a lot of fans who wanted to get their books and such signed from her.
The lever is pulled, and the port comes.
Was the drive worth it, or do I wish I had flown? Well, I definitely would have preferred to have taken a plane. But by the time I was set to go to Gen Con, all the plane tickets were basically already booked. And what remnants were left were way overpriced. So, I mean, there was just... Even if I had wanted to, it wasn't possible to fly. Same with the hotel situation, which I guess I'm not going to get into here, but... I may have stayed at the grossest, most disgusting, truly, truly vile hotel I have ever stayed at in my life. The sheer quantity of bugs on display was jaw-dropping. Entomologists would have had a field day. The sheets were torn. Cigarette burned. The whole place reeked. Honestly, and I mean this not facetiously, I kind of feel like the city of Indianapolis needs to shut the place down. The health department does. It was really not good. So I was just like, man, can I find another place? But because it was Gen Con and they were at like 95% full capacity, all the other hotels were like, yeah, you can stay here. Only, you know, $350, $400 a night. And, you know, did I really want to drop, you know, $1,200 or whatever for the rest of my stay? Especially since I was basically at Gen Con and only at the hotel room to crash for a few hours. I did it. I stayed there. I really should not have, though. That place was so disgusting. I won't name names because I'm not going to slander him on the air. But oh my god. That's what you get for going for the cheap place during Gen Con. Why can't I put the Sapphire of Heavy Fortification, level 8, on the Scale Stone of Malice, level 10? The answer to that is the Scale Stone of Malice is a green augment slot. Oh no, you should be able to. I don't know. You should be able to, is the answer. I'll have to look into that.
Facade jail calls down to you from the platform above. What are you doing in my
Oh, Patrick Rothfuss. Yes, I completely forgot that. Thank you for reminding me, Druid's Fire. I got to see Patrick Rothfuss he was kind of the keynote speaker on Thursday night at the convention. And if that dude never writes another book again, that would suck. He could be a stand-up comedian. He was so funny, and his presentation was so good. It was also insightful and all that sort of thing. It was just so perfect. I was already a big fan, and man, did he deliver. Good stuff. Patrick Rothfuss, man, that was one of the best things. I also got to try playing the board, well, this sort of chess-like board game. That's based on the Name of the Wind book. That Tack? I got to see that played and get like a kind of a bird's eye view of how it works. It's a really cool game too.
jubilant shouts and cheers can be heard from the cavern behind. The walls echo once more, not with the sound of battle, but with the sound of its
So by the time Sunday rolled around, I was exhausted. As were everyone I was with and everything. So I did the paint and take, and then basically spent the one last kind of trek through the exhibit hall, because, you know, I hadn't spent enough money yet. And then went and played a bunch of those games that I played throughout most of the afternoon. Yeah, I don't know. Check to make... That's a good question, King Cosmo. Make sure the augment isn't locked in your inventory, because you should be able to. Because it's a green slot and should accept a blue, which is what a sapphire is. So, I don't know. So, are you guys totally sick of hearing me talk about Gen Con? Maybe I should just stop. Yeah. If not, let me know, because I'll keep talking. So the board games that I played and purchased that I would give a little review on, if that's okay, is the first one is a new version. It's a board game. It got started on Kickstarter, and they're going to release it in a couple of weeks commercially. But it was available to purchase early at Gen Con, and that is the Centipede board game. Atari branded Centipede, being released by IDW Games. It's a two-player game, which really kind of basically sort of emulates the Centipede classic arcade game, in that one person plays the shooter. They call it a gnome because of the rebranding that took place in the 2000s there. But, you know, the player. And then one person plays the centipede and the bugs. He basically start at opposite sides of a game grid. And the object of the centipede is to get to the bottom of the screen. And the object of the shooter is to destroy the centipede. And basically, one is a dice mechanic with bonus kind of player skills. And the other one is a card mechanic. The centipede has a card mechanic to basically spawn bugs, progress, or whatever. You have essentially 11 cards that you play that do different things like spawn bugs, spawn mushrooms, speed up your centipede, etc., etc. And just like in the arcade game, if the shooter hits the centipede, say, midway, it turns into two centipedes that all move independently. And as the centipede gets smaller in size, the centipede gets faster. So it's kind of a competitive it's a very competitive two-player game. I only got the chance to play a couple of rounds of it, so I can't say for certain that it was a balanced game, but it felt, based on just a couple of playthroughs, that it was pretty balanced. In that one side didn't seem clearly likely to win over the other. It was a neat mechanic. Also, if you bought it at Gen Con, you got a funky little centipede patch. They did a really nice job on the wooden pieces, like the little meeples and all that sort of thing. Very accurate to the classic arcade game. The board looks great, the cards look great, the construction's really good. Like I say, IDW Games is a pretty big name player in that field and did a nice job, I think, on the game. Supposedly they're going to be releasing a Missile Command and Asteroids game as well. I know that's kind of the hip new trend in board gaming, is a lot of IP branded games, you know. You saw it at Gen Con. You know, they had things for like Ghostbusters 2, The Goonies, all sorts of like movies and films and nostalgia based IP that have been turned into various board game forms, and some of them, you know, clearly are better than others. The Centipede one actually played pretty well. It was fun. I'm really glad I got to pick it up. Now, clearly, I would have picked it up even if the game had sucked, just because I am that much of an Atari nerd. But it was nice to see that the game will actually get some play as well. What exactly did the hotfix last week fix? It was an exploit! It was a big exploit. So big, in fact, that I'm not able to, nor willing to, discuss it.
The miners appear to have used this room for sifting through raw ore. A golem stands in one corner, inactive and neglected.
But yeah, that was what was about. Something came up where we discovered a very serious exploit that had to be fixed immediately. For the longevity of the game. And so we took care of it. We're gonna LARP for the Ravenloft release trailer. I love it. I am down for that. That sounds like a live action amateur Ravenloft trailer. Works for me. I can talk a little bit about sentient weapons here in a little bit. Am I ever going to update the useful links and fan sites listing? There are some hacked sites on there. That's a good point. I have not really had time to focus on it yet. Frankly, the fan sites as they are in kind of a decent place right now. But you're right that those two sections in particular are way outdated. And have some fan sites that have since gone by the wayside and had their URLs turned into mush.
A feeling of calm determination.
So I will put that on my to-do list. If I don't get to it this week, I'll do it as soon as I can. Thanks for bringing it to my attention.
Rune is set into the pedestal of Moradin's shrine. The magical rune flares to life, and the long-dormant mining golems awaken.
Some of my rune arms have to be manually targeted to hit reliably. Others are doing great, but some I really need to work to get to hit. I had thought that Steel Star and Update 36 largely resolved that issue, but it sounds like we have some further rune arms that need work. So, please get in touch with me, or send in a bug on that, and hopefully they should be able to fix it, because we want the rune arms to target more reliably, and in many cases we improved it, but it looks like we still have some work to go.
The clanging stride of the mining golem has attracted a crowd of umber hosts.
Yeah, Hephaestus, I'm aware of the having to stop and place thing on some of the battle engineer stuff. I have to check with Steel Star to see what the issue is with that and what the fix is for that. None of the fan sites are hacked. I think that isn't necessarily the right term, but I know there's a couple of outdated ones in the fan site listings that basically go to a expired domain registration.
With a resounding crash, the mining golem destroys the wall of stone.
There's a new Atari platform coming out. Yes, I am well aware of that. I am a frequenter of Atari Age, because I am, like I say, I am an ultimate Atari nerd. Here's how much of an Atari nerd I am. Not only was I at Gen Con, but I also was keeping an eye on some eBay auctions. And just before I left, I was able to score a Cookie Monster Munch by CCE Games for the 2600, in addition to now my third Zonox Double Ender of Chuck Norris Super Kicks and Artillery Duel. Zonox Double Ender was a double game. They had basically, if you know the kind of brick-like Atari carts, they have an opening on the side of the PCB board that you slide into the Atari. The Zonoxes were basically longer rectangles, and they had games on either end, so you would pull it out, flip it, put the other one in for the next one. So.
The smell of blood and rot.
But yeah, I don't know much about the Atari kind of relaunch thing that they're doing. My working theory is it's going to be kind of like a Ouya or something like that, but I really have no inside info. I don't know. Oh no, $350 a night was the lowest cost hotel that was still available. There was one downtown that I saw that was asking $1,000 a night. I even checked Airbnb, and Airbnbs were like, you know, $200 to $400 a night. It was nuts. Yep. Did I check out the new D&D Worlds apps for PNP? I have not had an opportunity yet. I was in the beta early on, and kind of did casually check it out then, but I was busy with getting Mordor out the door, and so I didn't really have time to focus on it. But D&D Beyond launched just a couple days before Gen Con, the day I hit the road, and I absolutely do plan to do that. Seems like it'll be pretty cool. I really liked D&D Insider back in 4th edition, and I know it's, you know, got its detractors, but I found it very useful in terms of just quick making characters for 4th Ed and things.
Another wall of stone spell seals the passage to the north.
Alright, so the next game in my personal favorite score from Gen Con, games-wise, is a card game that I found called The End Is Nigh. The End Is Nigh. It's a deduction card game, a little bit similar to, for those of you who have played it, Are You a Werewolf? The idea is that it's the end of the world, you're in a bunker, you have room for 4 more people, and 6 people want in. So you have 6 characters from a deck of 20-some, that you randomly put out. Each one has special things that happen when you try to question them. And players take turns questioning the 6 people to try to determine who should be let in. At the end of each one of your turns, you vote to kick someone out. And at 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock, each turn is an hour, the person with the most votes gets kicked out. So at the end of the 12 rounds, 12 turns, 12 individual turns, by the way, you know, it's not, you get to move 12 times, like if you have 3 people, it's 4 times. You flip over the cards to see who is left, and here's where the tricks come in, because not everybody is on the up and up. Some of the people are cultists who want to destroy your bunker. So if you flip a cultist and you're a civilian, you lose. And here's the other catch. Not always, but sometimes, because it's a random card mechanic of a larger deck than you have players, one of you may also be a fanatic. So if you're a cultist, you want to get a cultist into the base. And if you're not a cultist, clearly you want to keep the cultists out. So it's this really cool give and take mechanic where you basically are working together, but you can't entirely trust each other, and you're trying to determine which people are basically the bad guys and make sure they don't get into the bunker at the end. So really, really cool card game mechanic, and not dissimilar, like I say, to Werewolf and some of the other deduction-style card games out there, but mechanically it's got, and this is just personal opinion, mechanically it's got a little bit more going on than, say, Are You a Werewolf? Because each character has special abilities, like if you question this person, you send a card to a different person, or you swap people, or if they're next to someone else, something else happens. And so there's a level of mechanics as opposed to just pure bluffing involved as well, in a way that I found really satisfying. So that, like I say, for me personally, in terms of all the games I picked up and played at Gen Con, other than Battle for Greyport, which I already had, that was my winner of Gen Con personally. It was really, really interesting, fun, short. Each game was like 15-20 minutes. Has a mechanic that the rules weren't that complex, but yet it had some good deep strategy to it. It also had the fun party atmosphere where you're kind of trying to figure out if your friends are telling the truth and what have you. So yeah, that was one that I really, really liked, called The End Is Nigh. I also picked up a game that I can play with my soon-to-be 6-year-old, called like Cat's Paw or something like that. It's sort of branded like a ninja cat game, but at its core it's a domino game with a set of symbols instead of pips, and 2 dice that you roll with all those symbols on it. So the idea is you roll 2 dice and then you try to find the domino that's got that matching symbols, and then you bring it to your pile. And the first person to have 6 dominoes in their pile wins. But the trick is if you re-roll the same thing, you can steal someone else's domino that they've already taken. So not only are you trying to find the dominoes that are in the center pile, but you want to protect your own from being stolen. Simple match mechanic, like I said, but this is a good game for perhaps your younger kids, because the rules are very simple. Roll the dice, find the thing. And it's got a kind of a fun, oh no, like rushed grab mechanic that I think a 6-year-old will find particularly satisfying. I wish I could remember the name of the game off the top of my head. I think Cat's Paw or something like that. So those are the 3 games I picked up at Gen Con. I played, like I said, a couple others as well that I really dug. And a couple that where I was like, okay, yeah, thanks. Maybe I liked a little less, but that's okay. You know, I'm gonna pause quick. I gotta take care of my cold. Just a second.
The dwarf's frenzied eyes stare at you with genuine pleasure. Ah, more volunteers to mine for the jewels. Wonderful. You'll make a splendid new miner. Enthuses ego.
Alright, thanks. Sorry about that.
My stand still. It'll only hurt for a moment.
Yeah, I definitely want to check out D&D Beyond. It is right up my alley. I also, finally, you know, I have been wanting to pull the trigger on this for a long time, and I've just not done it. But I finally spent way too much money on dice. Not like I didn't have piles and piles of dice already, but I saw a very pretty looking set of, like, reflective gemstone dice. I finally did it. So now I've got a really killer set of gaming dice that are like super fancy. Nice. I am now a cap. Cool. Yeah, unfortunately the game is not... Oh, there we go. Cobra Paw, that's it. Alright, yeah, the dice game I was talking about, the one for kids, is called Cobra Paw. It would be nice to have the opportunity to order DDO merchandise like t-shirts, etc. Yes, it would. The trick is that we don't have merchandising rights for Dungeons and Dragons. So we literally do not have a license to sell DDO-themed t-shirts. Unlike with some other games, Wizards of the Coast has a merchandising license that they contract out through certain people, and that's a competitive bidding process. So the people who would print those DDO shirts are going to be the same people who print all of the other shirts for, say, Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons in general. And we haven't been able to make it, make it work out. So, unfortunately. Alright, so, good question. Let me look up. I actually don't know what the bonus is yet myself, because I have been out at Gen Con and haven't written the Chronicle yet, which is what I'm going to do today. I can't guarantee it's going to be out on Thursday. Depends how long it takes to make, but my plan is to try to get it out on Thursday. Alright, there'll be the 25th. Alright, so the bonus this weekend is a Strength and Numbers weekend, plus 5% XP for every party, every member in your party other than yourself, including raids. We typically do 10% for just parties and 5% for raids. So if you're in a raid group, like Von 5, and you have a full group of 11 people, that'll be an extra 55% XP, which ain't tiny. So, you know, Von 5 weekend. And I could have sworn I've got a ooze beater here. Guess not. Don't you mean Legendary Shroud Weekend? Well, that too. Any raids, really. Chronoscope, I mean, you know. It's just I know Von 5 gives an awful lot of XP, so...
ruins of Iron Vale Deep sprawl through this cavern. The Master Manifest could be anywhere within its maze-like halls.
Yeah, I could have sworn I had a Broccoli Basher around somewhere. So I don't know. No Titan Awakes. Yeah. It would be cool to do that sometime. You know, renovate that area, but it's just not really on our agenda. Am I an admin Conjure one? Well, see, that's not actually how it works. Not on my play characters. On my play characters, I have the same benefits as everyone else has, with the exception of, you know, a deeper pool of DDO points. One perk of the job. But no, I can't. It would not be appropriate for me to just spawn my gear on an admin or anything like that. I don't cheat.
You pull the lever and the relay crystal flares into brilliant light. You shiver at a sudden gust of cold. An icy breeze wafts down from the landing atop this stairwell. This must be the source of the draft. Light pours into the chamber from a shaft in the ceiling, illuminating a large relay crystal.
Wow, man, we were just getting a lot of remnants. Oh, yes, because it's the remnant week, that's why. I was like, why am I getting so many remnants? And then I was like, oh yeah, right, that runs through Thursday. Double Mysterious Remnants boost. Along with the... Oh yeah, that's right, I should actually see if there's any stuff at the vendor, because this is the last full day to do that. Yeah, sure, Hephaestus. I'd be happy to plug your stream in the Chronicle. Just send me a PM if you would. Today if you would, because I'm putting together the Chronicle today. Just give me a quick blurb about sort of your show and a link to your page, and I'd be happy to feature it. Oh my gosh. This really is a problematic area. Ah! Oh, God. Nice. Meow, 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 meow.
As the beam of light strikes the final relay crystal, power flows into the puzzle pieces below it. The last puzzle piece clicks into place, and a door leading into the lower district rumbles open.
Let's see. Will the remnant vendor list ever have items added? Yes. Absolutely. Lately we haven't put any new items in it since the skill tomes, I believe, right? Mostly because we make a new item, we figure out where it should go. Whether it should, say, be a DDO store item, a raid item, a quest item, what have you. Our itemization plans for recent content updates has been heavy enough that we really have been having to dedicate our resources to getting that done. So, that's why we really haven't seen anything new there. And frankly, we're not going to for Ravenloft either, because we have everything from sentient weapons to regular quest weapons and all that an update in the Ravenloft expansion, so it'll be a little while, I think. But I'm sure that we haven't seen the end of new items in the Mysterious Remnants vendor. Alright, so sentient weapons. I can't really talk too much about them. But I did want to sort of repeat what I said on the forums today. We'll have more information on it coming fairly soon, I would think. We do have some stuff in front of the Players' Council, and I think we're going to be getting some more stuff soon. We did have kind of a run-through and an email chain inside the office, kind of solidifying and locking down our plans for it. In general, you know, as Sev, I believe, stated in an interview with DDO Cast recently, there are going to be a variety of items. We want to cover all the basic bases, at least. And it's going to be a largely augment-style system, including for the personality. So, for example, and the reason we want to do that is we want you to be able to have your item have maybe the personality you want regardless of the bonus on the item, so you're not like, well, the Dwarven X is annoying, but it's got X, whereas, you know, I really want the Bastard Sword, but I want the personality of Y. So instead we're going to be basically using an augment-style system to take care of that. Where you'll slot in the personality on the item, and I think the benefits themselves will largely be sort of slottish as well. The way it'll work is they're going to be high-level items. We had thought about, at one point there was an iteration of sentient items that leveled with you, but The problem with that at its core, even though like maybe from a D&D perspective it makes sense, is that from a game perspective, you don't want to just have one item only, because it basically negates every other named weapon or whatever in the game all the way up to that point. So if you're only using your sentient weapon because you want to level it up or whatever, it just basically makes null just about every other item that we've made up to this point. In addition, frankly, we think that people who are true reincarnating and such have got, you know, a fairly wide variety of reasons to do so, and we really wanted to have an endgame system for Ravenloft. So sentient items are going to be sentient weapons are going to be basically high level. I don't want to commit to 28, 29, something like that though.
His mission thwarted. You examine the ancient tome and verify that it is the master manifest you were sent to collect.
Will it be a grind? Ooh,
We'll
yes.
be happy to hear that you and happier still to hear that you
I will
started
take
a
that.
drow incursion into one of their ancient towns.
Nice, got the bell. Alright, that's going to wrap it up, I think, for the show here. Let me get you guys' names screenshotted. I will get you a DDO point code in the mail, probably today or tomorrow. And that's really about all I can say on sentient weapons at this point. We have got some systems in place that we're working on, but I just don't want to spill the beans on it at this point. I don't know, Hipporan. Maybe Linabel knows more about that than I do. I've been gone for a week. Yeah, Dragon Touched Armor would be lovely to have a revamp of, but we just don't have time for it right now. Let's see. Yeah, I just don't really think we'll be touching Dragon Touched anytime soon. Sorry. Will there ever be any sort of UI update? At some point there will be. But it's going to be a big project. So, but as we move into a realm of 4K monitors and such, we'll probably have to do something like that at some point here. Alright. I guess that'll do it. I'll be back on Friday for Friday afternoon. We do have people on the DDO stream all week long. You can find the schedule over on our Twitch page. I need to go get the Chronicle and such out today, get back on track here, ready for the week and next week and such. We'll have a lot more about Ravenloft. I also happen to know I'm going to be a guest on DDO Cast. That'll be Sunday 1 p.m. or Saturday rather 1 p.m. Eastern over on Patrick's channel, I believe twitch.tv/DDOcast. I think we're going to be talking leveling up, level like 1 to 3, something like that. Maybe I can find some good news or things like that to talk about as well. Hope you have a good time. I will be back here next Friday at noon, also next Wednesday. I'll be on Kyber. Thanks for watching. Talk to you again soon. Have fun.
This is your chance, so make your claim now. Never has there been a gemstone like the Jewel of Ardor. Its brightness, its glow,